Hey fam, and welcome to this week's Family Feud segment. And so, as you may remember, Family Feud is our weekly segment where we talk. What?
I literally just read that.
What?
Where we run into the wall. Where we blank.
So I guess that is the cold open.
Cold
I was
open.
like, oh, we don't have a cold open.
I thought the same thing. I knew it was going to come up, though. I knew it was going to make it happen. That's mistakes.
Let me
You gonna do it?
a piece of this. Yeah, I got it. Can't believe I glossed over that earlier. Oh, have you watched Flower Crew on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
I think you're gonna like it. It's a Korean drama rom-com thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Netflix keeps pushing it in front of me, so I was like, fine.
You watch one. If you watch one, they gonna
It's
give
wild.
you every East Asian TV show they can
So
find.
Flower Crew, Jung Sung marriage business. I don't know the rest of it. It's good. I'm like 4 episodes in. It is about this group of 3 men who are matchmakers in this town. It's also a period piece. So
okay.
I don't know when this is supposed to take place because I don't know the history of Korea, but it seems like feudal society. And there's like 2 people are gonna, so how it starts, right, is there's this one guy who's trying to get the matchmaker to help him. And I'm also learning about older marriage customs of Korean families. Very interesting. So this one guy is a blacksmith, and he wants the Flower Crew, because that's the name of the agency, to help him because he wants to marry his childhood friend. I don't remember her name, but she's very pretty, but she's real rough around the edges.
Okay.
And she apparently was a former servant or slave, and as a child, her and her brother ran away, and then they got separated, and she hasn't seen him in 10 years, but she's trying to find him. And so the blacksmith guy that wants to marry her is like, oh, I want to marry her, that's my lady. And so he eventually proposes. She's like, yeah, love it, let's do it. And then wedding day rolls around, right? Wedding day rolls around, and he disappears.
Oh.
Right? So he disappears. And she's like, oh no, what happened to my husband? And my man.
What's up, fam, and welcome back to another week of the Good Black Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us again. So we are going to get straight into the catch up. We are not going to waste no time. This week, Jade, what is going on with you?
Hey fam. So just this week, my body is very tired between dance practice, personal training, teaching, my period. It's a 4-point combination, and I'm just trying to wade through the water and make it through. But other than that, I'm good. And I keep telling people, like, I'm about to be the sleepiest, snatched version of myself that folks have ever seen. Like, my body's gonna be tight. It's gonna be nice and right. But also nice. I'm sleepy. I am lethargic. I am sluggish. Because there's the big sleep energy, big sleepy cat energy, actually. But yeah, just because I'm going and moving, and it's a lot of physical stuff. It's one thing to be tired from the mental, but like at the end of some of these days, I have been completely tapped because of the physicalness of my days. And right now I'm just kind of in that adjustment period because, the top of the year didn't have all of this movement going on, but I knew it was going to I knew the volume would increase. And so now we're at the point where the volume has increased and my body has not fully adjusted yet. So catch me in like another 2 weeks and maybe the story will change. But right now I'm tired and sore and sleepy, big sleep energy. But that's it. What about you? What's been going on? How you doing?
I am well. I'm tired too, actually, and I've been tired for the last couple of days. this past weekend was my birthday. So,
Hmm.
pew pew pew, air horns.
Shout outs to a real one.
Yeah. So, thank you. Yeah. So, but I was sick on my birthday.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So
Hmm.
like just kind of like it was like a cold, but like it never like fully settled itself in. So it was kind of like the inconveniences of a cold, but
Mm-hmm.
not like the full on onset, which I was very thankful for. The day before my birthday, I was just kind of like, I don't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the day of my birthday, I was like, I don't feel good. So
Mm-hmm.
we went out to brunch. My wife and invited some friends and family, and went to brunch, and we had to stand outside to wait, and it was very cold that day. So like when I got up, I was like, I don't feel good, but I can manage. I'm okay to to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get up and go out. But like we stood outside for like 40 minutes,
Oh, absolutely
and
not.
that did it. That did me in. I looked really
Mm-mm.
nice, I think, but the outside, it was so cold, and I was like, well, by the time we got to when we were seated, I was like, this is not good. This is not
Oh,
good.
I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, to God be the glory. I'm alive and be all right. So, still kind of like having some lingering of that, but also these past 2 weeks I've been getting up really early.
Mm-hmm.
All of the self help gurus say, get your lazy butt up at 5:30 a.m. And so I've been getting up at 5:45, just to like start building some better habits. I do better when I work out in the morning. I
Mm.
feel better in like getting up and kind of getting my day started early. um and I've been doing that, and I'm very so by the time 5 o'clock roll around,
Mm-hmm.
I've spent my day. I've used the energy that I got for that day. So just implementing to a new morning routine has been difficult to do, but it's difficult because it's new. It's
Yeah.
not difficult because it's hard.
Yeah.
So it's like, whew, okay, we gotta adjust and kind of get into the new flow of things. And so yeah, but all in all, life is good. I cannot complain. Um, you know, my brain sucks. It wants to fight me every chance it gets, and that's okay because I'm
Yeah.
always going to win. So to put my brain and the chemicals on notice.
Got
So
it.
so
Got
yeah,
it.
but that's where I'm at, and I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I can't. I work out with my personal trainer on Tuesdays and Thursdays
Ooh.
faithfully, and it's uh, we're supposed to start sessions at 7:30. It's a struggle
Mm.
every time Tuesday or Thursday rolls around. I make it, but it's not. I'm always so sleepy.
Hmm.
I am not a morning person. I have never been,
Well, see, I am.
and I just my morning needs to start at 10. So even after I do personal training, I like come home, and I'm trying to get better about like just stay awake and like do things, eat the breakfast, drink the water, take the vitamins, whatever.
Mm.
But I still have plenty of days where I'll come in and just lay on the floor and go to sleep immediately after returning from training because
That's fair.
sleepy. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
big sleepy energy. You are
big
also
sleepy
physically
energy.
tired
Hmm.
after that, so that makes sense.
Hmm. Plus, that man be trying to kill me. But anyway.
Not he trying to kill you. Not I'm paying you to kill me. No, no thanks. I'll get there one day. I get there one day.
Yeah. He's a
Yes.
great trainer. And also, like, sir, you treat me like I'm a football player. Stop that. I'm a dancer.
Dancer.
I'm a dancer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for checking in with me. I appreciate it. If you all want to check in with us again, please send us emails to goodblackpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and read your check-ins aloud on the show. And with that, we are going to get over into our family feud.
Hey, fam, and welcome to this week's segment of Family Feud. And as you probably remember, Family Feud is a segment where we discuss relevant topics, pains, lessons, growth, and general moments of adulting while Black. So, for this week and for our next episode, just want to give a heads up that we're actually splitting this topic into two parts. This one is going to focus more on our history with the concept of the topic. And the next time you hear our voices talk about this, it'll be more of a critical deep dive and analysis and the typical unlearning that we do. But we wanted to break it up because there's a lot that you can talk about when it comes to social media. So
Mhm.
before we actually get into it, I want to give like a quick definition because you know how we like to make things clear and plain around what
Yes.
social media and what we're talking about. So social media is the means of interactions among people in which they create, share, and or exchange information and ideas in virtual communities and networks. So I know when folks say social media, they might have specific apps that they're thinking about, but when we look at the definition, there's actually a little more breadth to what we could be talking about when we're thinking social media. And so our conversation today is going to touch on that because, like I said, we're going to focus in on ourselves and some of our history and the evolution as we know it to be in our lives. So, like I said, it's going to be a two-part topic because there's so much to cover about this particular topic. And yeah, we just want to like kind of get into it about our relationship to it, past and present, and what we're thinking as far as the future potentially. And we're just gonna have a nice conversation. So Gant, I want to start with you because there's only two of us on the podcast. I'm going to start with
Hmm.
you.
Usually, how
um,
we do
usually how we do it, but
it.
what is your earliest memory of using social media, and like how does that compare to now? And what has that in between space look like for you, like that evolution?
So I guess mine would have had to be like AOL chat rooms if you get way back there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say like I guess my most immediate memories with social media the way we know it now go straight to MySpace, right?
Mm,
Like because I was definitely in that, I was definitely in there with the baby coders, because we were
we were coding.
we were actually coding. We were actually
Yep.
building mini websites for ourselves. So shout out to Tom and MySpace for giving us a skill that we didn't know would be making people lots of money today.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I had done more of that. I wish I'd have kept up longer with it.
One of my
So
friends basically like her job is I don't know what she does. Tech things, cyber security things. I don't know. So she
technology
continued
stuff.
technologies stuff. So she continued on the train of coding and other things that deal with this. Let me walk myself directly into a very large bag of money. I love her so
Mm,
much and I'm so proud of her, but
shout
that
out.
that paid off very well for her.
Shout out. I
Should
really
have
wish I
followed
had
in
stuck
those
around with
footsteps.
it.
Yep. Because I enjoyed it, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It was a lot of work. It was a
Hmm.
lot of work.
But it was fun. It was fun because
I
then you got
mean,
to see your finished
absolutely.
product. Yeah. And it was like you had this bomb page
Right.
and nobody could touch you and you would have the specific. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm infringing
No,
on your time.
I'm
Hmm.
no, I'm absolutely like 100% right there with you. Cause I'm like, I remember when I figured out like how, cause obviously they had websites where you could go and find like a page layout. So you can
Hmm.
go and just siphon through like pages and pages and pages of different
Find your
layouts.
layout and then make
Yes.
small tweaks to like the colors and stuff because you knew
Right.
your hex codes. Yup.
Right. I knew my hex codes, so I knew like how to like, change the color of the sneaker from, brown to,
Hmm.
to army green,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. We had so much power.
So much power.
Yeah, but I mean, that had to be my first taste of of oversharing on the internet. But I would say, I'm excited that I was not super interesting at that time in my life. So I cared a lot more about my profile and about what I was writing on there than anybody else did. But we put so much energy into making it look cool and trying
Hmm.
to communicate about yourself what you wanted other people to know about you or
Yeah.
what you wanted other people to think about you, which I think has that's definitely something that still absolutely plays a role today. We just did it in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, but transitioning away from that, obviously Facebook was next on the list, and when they stopped requiring college emails for
Ugh.
Facebook, oh, we
I
thought
was
we were
like,
somebody. Because
I
I did.
no, I was
I
like,
did.
this is the ghetto. Get out of here. All these people that no, this is for us. Get
Oh
out.
my gosh.
Mm-mm.
Elitist.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. This is
No,
my space to do college things with my college
with
friends.
my
Who
college
are you other
friends.
people? It just it opened up it opened up the floodgates, and and then our parents were on it. Get off my
That's
social
true.
media. Get off
That's
my.
true.
You want to be friends with me? No, I don't want to connect with you. This is my college experience. You're not supposed to see this. Go
Oh
somewhere.
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So by the time I got on there, it was because they had stopped requiring like college emails.
Yeah.
So, I know my sister had one before, obviously before that was the case.
Mm,
But, moved over to Facebook, and because I've always been I've always, especially at the time, like I was super churchy, so everything I was doing on there was, God, Jesus, and the like, and maybe a little shady comment, here and there.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, like Facebook, and then because I've always been an Android person as well, I had to wait until Instagram came to Android.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like wanting to get a certain phone because I was like, the Instagram is gonna look better on this, because I had friends who had iPhones and who had Instagram like way before we had access to it on Android.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got it, I was so very excited. I think some of my early pictures are still on my Instagram profile now, because I've just never gone through and or archived everything. But I did start a little bit. But yeah, evolved to Instagram, and just being able to enjoy that addictive delight of scrolling
Mm-hmm.
forever, um with filters. And then also, like I mentioned already, I was churchy at the time, so I used to use Social Cam. Do you remember that?
I've never heard of that.
Oh my gosh, I think it was a super church. I think a lot of
Okay.
church folks
Hmm.
use that. So if you are listening and you remember Social Cam, shout out to you. But it was like they mostly did a lot of lives. So like it was a place where people went and like they would be able to stream themselves live. And but like I said, they did a lot of churchy people did that. So like folks who are like um folks who are involved in like church, in the Southern church, and I guess the whole American black church used to
Mm-hmm.
be on there. So I'm pretty sure Kevin on Stage used to do lives on
Oh.
there. So yeah, Social Cam was a thing. But yeah, I mean those are kind of like my biggest progression of social medias. I did have a Twitter, obviously a little bit
Yeah.
earlier in the time frame, earlier in the timeline of Twitter, like kind of first becoming a thing. I deleted my Twitter, my personal Twitter, like
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And at the time, like I think I created my Twitter in like 2009.
Okay.
So God knows what was on there, but I just knew, I was like, nobody's gonna cancel me because I'm gonna be somebody one day, and y'all not
You
gonna go
are.
back and find those. Y'all not gonna go back and find those tweets. But I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure
they
I never
might.
said it. I doubt I said anything crazy on there, but
Mm.
yeah, they you would
We
have
were
to
young and
search.
had platforms. Who knows?
I
Who
know, right?
knows?
I know. So, whew, gosh, Lord, don't look for it. Don't look for it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's my spiel on it. But currently, I kind of keep it to like a core three. I use Facebook for family updates, kind of keep up with everybody on there. Instagram is keeping up with friends, but also like podcast promo, and the same for
Hmm.
Twitter. Um, yeah, like I only use Twitter for the show, and Instagram, like I like to scroll, and I post like cute pictures whenever I feel the need. But for the most part, I kind of stay out of there. I use YouTube the most of all my social media, but I feel like YouTube is not really social media in the same way as those other ones are.
Yeah.
I feel like it's content media. Like they definitely
Content
have
media. Okay.
They definitely have the ability for it to be social. I mean, as far as like, comments, and now they have
Comments
like
and
community tabs and et cetera, where people can kind of like link up and talk about certain stuff. But
and the lives and everything like that.
right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, people definitely do it for that. But for me, um, I kind of, because I am prone to anxiety, and I have found like in my own like time of like self-reflection and kind of like, studying and reading, I found like that constant scrolling and that constant access to information and opinions and thoughts, I find that makes me a little bit anxious.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I will drop out of social media for weeks at a time, weeks, months at a time. um just whenever I feel like it gets to be a little bit too much. So sometimes I just want to kind of protect my mental space and do that. So, but I mean, yeah, I feel like that's my journey from then up until now. That's kind of where I'm at now. Um, yeah. I mean, So, how did you get started with socials? What were your first your first experiences with social media as we know it now?
Goodness gracious. So back in the olden times, like I remember, so this had to be like 98, 99 maybe. Um, because I was living in Florida with my parents at the time. Yeah, so this had to be around 5th grade. I don't remember specific dates, but I do remember when we first got uh America Online, aka
Mm,
AOL, and we had the CD and the dial up sound with the
yep.
modem
Yep.
and the chat rooms. And so first my first exposure to social media and interacting with other people who were outside of my home was in chat rooms. And so back in the day with AOL, they used to have a section for AOL kids.
Mm.
And somehow I convinced my parents pretty quickly, like, hey, I don't need to be in the AOL kids section. Put me in the big leagues, coach. And they
The
eventually
big
did
leagues.
it. So I had access to even more chat rooms. Like with AOL kids, they did try to do a good job of like sectioning it out. So like websites that you visited, you could only visit certain websites. Like there were parental blockers, things like that. But then if you took off the filter of AOL kids, like it just opened it up to every single thing else. Um, but yeah, chat rooms on different website pages. Like I used to visit Cartoon Network's website a lot because they used to have videos and stuff up there, but they would also have forums.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
yeah, I also used to play a lot of games, and so with the game sites
Hmm.
like Kiwi Box, I don't know if you ever played on that platform. Um, you could play games, and then there were also a bunch of different chat rooms. Um, and there was well, actually, that's not G rated. That's why I can't mention that one.
No, it's
Okay. Yep.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so chat rooms were basically the entry point. Chat rooms and game sites that also had chat rooms and message boards. Those were the entry points for me engaging with social media. And like I said, engaging with folks who were not physically present in my home with me. Um, and so, with that said, I was also the child who did engage with it in more dangerous ways. And so, if folks have ever seen the Smart Guy episode, like where they're talking about the dangers of social media, and like TJ is trying to get like him and his friend Karen are trying to get this game,
Mm.
and they're going into this chat room, and they meet up with this guy, like I think Marky something, and they're talking to him online, and he's saying, oh, I have these games, you want to come over, like you can come see them, you can come play them. And they actually go over. And so I remember seeing that episode and like being appalled, like, oh my God, why would that's not smart. That's not a smart thing to do. You
Mm.
don't go over there. But I didn't realize, my little brain did not realize that me just simply engaging with some of these folks, um, and some of them, flat out said they were adults. Others, now that I look back, I'm like, I think it was clear that they were adults. But
Oh
how I was
no.
engaging with some of these chat rooms and like private chats, if if I had a kid today, I tell you what, I tell you what,
Listen.
no, no, no. So yeah, I did engage with it in slightly more dangerous ways. I had like I was making friends, and some of them were actually my age, and was able to verify that. And actually had a friend that I became a pen pal. I mean, we were friends all the way through college, and like got to see we got to see each other kind of grow up on social media. And I saw when she got married and started having babies, and I was just like, this is wild. But I'd
Mm,
never physically been in the same room as this person, but we were friends.
yeah,
um I also had like a little boyfriend up there. I
that was
engaged
what's
in
that.
cyber sex, but like I said, I never met up with anybody, because at least with the smart guy episode, I knew that was not safe. That was not smart. Everything
Yeah,
else leading up to it, I'm like, I'm still in control here because my baby
yeah,
brain thinks I am.
yeah.
But yeah, so, and like I said, if if I had a kid and they were engaging in some of these things, I probably blow a gasket. So I can only imagine how terrified my parents were back then with me engaging in these ways and trying to have conversations, but stuff isn't really landing, or sometimes it is. It was a lot. But here I am today. Um
Alive to tell
and
the story.
allowed to tell the story, right? But yeah, so chat rooms, game sites, was how it started. And then, went to AOL Instant Messenger. AIM, of course, had MySpace. Facebook was a part of my history, and I joined basically as soon as my college gave me my college email address. I joined immediately, and that's how I started making friends,
Mm,
before we even got on campus. And so a couple of friends were still very cool, and I see them on a regular basis to this day. And we actually talk about the fact that like we met on Facebook before we went to school. Um, I also had Twitter, so had that in college. And I remember thinking when Twitter first came out, I was like, this is dumb. It's nothing but like a series of Facebook status updates. Why would anybody engage with this? And then here I
mm,
go, like engaging with it. And so I wasn't wrong. It was just a series of status updates, but how
yeah.
people are using it today, it's like they're doing storytelling, it's like breaking news. It has truly evolved. But back then I was like, this does not make any sense. And so now I have two platforms that technically do the same thing, except, back then I don't think you could really have pictures on Twitter. Now you can
Yeah.
paint a whole picture and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also had Instagram, or started to use Instagram, and I started with Instagram once I moved back to the States, after I was a Peace Corps volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Instagram had hit the scene while I was in college, or like the tail end of me being in college, but it was like 3 or 4 years after that I got on it. And my very first picture is still up there, and it's grainy as all get out.
Oh, they
But I
were
was like, this
bad. They were
it was bad.
bad. They were
It was
bad.
bad. And like curation, that was not in my vocabulary. So I'm just
No.
like any and everything. I want you to see my world, kind of.
Yep.
I also had Snapchat for a hot second, and got Snapchat once I moved back to the DC area, and then lost interest in that after like a year. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. And then at different points in time, I've also had Pinterest. Um, and so like I feel like Pinterest is kind of on that wonky line, because at least how it was set up when it first started, there was less engagement, and it really was like your own pin board and your inspiration boards, and you're able to share ideas like that, but not a lot of actual engagement with other people. But now I think it's opened up a little bit more. And I think at one point I had a Periscope account, like for a really hot second. I don't think I ever actually posted content up there.
Periscope.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Periscope. It was the no, not the one with the bird logo. I forgot what it was.
I,
And they were bought out
hmm.
by somebody, or absorbed by somebody,
I
which
definitely
was then
remember
absorbed
that.
by somebody else. I think maybe Twitter absorbed Periscope. I can't remember.
Possibly.
Yeah. Um and I think those are it as far as the big ticket items. Oh, and then at one point I think this was at some point during the pandemic when Instagram was like shadow banning a lot of pole dancers, specifically pole dancers and sex workers.
Mm.
Um, Someone made a pole dancer specific social media platform. And so I was up there for a hot second. But then I was like, well, now I got to put content in two places potentially. I need to pick one. And for me, I was like, I'll just stick with the thing that already has all of my pictures and videos. Um, Instead of trying to work to cultivate or curate this whole entire new thing. But yeah, so like a community specific content sharing platform was a thing that I was on for like a very hot second. And it's always been about like talking with other people, seeing what's going on in other people's lives. And so I still do that. So thinking about the evolution or where I am today with it, I still do that, but now I also kind of use it lightly to like find news stories so that I can continue to read up on whatever is like coming across my timeline, read up on those things from more reputable resources or sites. So I don't
Mm.
just stop, when I'm seeing something on Instagram and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get outraged at this thing, but like I might read the title if they have an article that's associated with it, read up on it and then see where I can find more information. So yeah, some light news story, connection points, connecting to other people in general. But then a large reason I use social media today is for inspiration, and to see about and learn about other groups outside of myself. So I mean, my world is very black, very black.
Mm.
I'm not mad at that fact at all. As a matter of fact, it is by design. Um,
Yes.
and that I won't say it's limiting. I know that there are other folks outside of myself, outside of my family, outside of my friends, where the intersections of identities are different.
Mm.
Um, and I want to know, I've always been a curious person. I've always wanted to know and learn and understand more about the world. And so social media allows me to do that. So, I'm able to see what's going on, as far as protests out west. I'm able to see what's going on across the globe and have a better
Mm.
understanding of things that, we were initially told were one way, and now we're finding out actually it's never been that way.
Mm-hmm.
Palestine is the big thing that I'm referring to when it comes to that, like able to see and hear directly from those people
Yeah.
what's going on and
Yeah.
having a better understanding versus what I've actually been taught to believe. So it allows me to see and learn about more than just myself and my world, um, in a way where I'm hearing directly from people impacted, and I'm hearing the language that they're using and how they would like for other folks outside of that community to talk about the issues. So in that respect, it definitely helps me to be more worldly in general, but more conscious of my impact on the world,
Mm-hmm.
and also, just to be more empathetic. Um, and then, sometimes I use social media for fun things, for like celebrating or affirming other things, or, stuff I like and my own personal gratification. I I was feeling real cute in here the other day, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want somebody to see this. I'm not ashamed to say that. I want somebody to see this. What did I do? I was like, I'm going to post a picture of myself in my stories looking cute.
And it was a
And
cute
I
picture.
it was a cute picture. And I was like, I felt cute. So I wanted to post this up here. I'm not deleting this later.
It's
So
gonna be here.
there's that. It's going to be here.
It's gonna be here
Um,
for as many people to see as possible. Thank you so much.
right. So, I was upfront with that. Like, there's no shame in that, for me, as long as I feel like I'm not getting lost in that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, also with social media, using it for inspiration in general. So that's where I find like music for dancing, different hairstyles to try, different moves to try out, and stuff like that. So yeah, when it comes to all the different platforms I've engaged with, kind of like you, I keep it to a solid number. Um, At this point, it's mostly Instagram. I kind of use Facebook for just catching up or at least peeking in on family, but then also that's one of my big connection points with other doulas in the area, like doula groups or birth working businesses or caretaking businesses. Um, some of that platform holds a lot of um, groups that are dedicated to that, and like this, the forum or the space is big enough. Um, but I don't want to learn 15 different applications. Um, and what I need to use the things for, like when it comes to like personal life, connecting with family and my businesses, that's what I use them for. And then outside of that, like whereas social media used to consume me a lot more, I have a whole life that I want to live outside of social media. Um, and really trying to be intentional about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not going to sit here and say like I haven't lost a couple hours scrolling,
Yeah,
because it happens, because it's addictive. But yeah, that's where I'm at
absolutely.
with it so far. So
And it's built to be that way.
it's built to be
Um,
that way.
which is, for better or worse, something for us to kind of contend with. And we can talk about it in part two, but
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
But yeah.
so yeah, so following up, what have been some things like in the social media timeline, like of the, of your experience with social media, like that have like jumped out, like stuff that has kind of happened in the time frame of starting social media until
Mm,
now that has kind of been like, oh, there was a shift there, like something that was a shift for me there.
yeah. That's a great question. I mean, of course, the breakout of MySpace was a game changer for me and for a lot of us. But then Facebook coming on the scene and then surpassing and taking over the space that MySpace held, that was huge. And
Hmm.
then moving on to expand beyond, college campuses. You can call me elitist if you want to, but I felt very special with the fact that not everybody could be on that joint.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um,
You got to own your stuff
and
sometimes.
yeah, and how it was built back then, it was a campus experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because before they actually opened it up to, non-college IDs, they started experimenting with, so, it was the modular experience of like your campus, you had your very specific group, you're seeing other people potentially,
Right.
or able to connect a little bit seamlessly or easier with other people in your campus grouping, for lack of a better word. Then they started to play with opening up those lines a little bit more, and so across campuses is easier to connect with people, easier to see things, make the friends, all the stuff. But yeah, so right before they opened it up to non-college IDs, that's when they started to blend the lines a little bit more about the accessibility of people in colleges being able to talk with each other, make friends with each other, connect with each other. And then it was like the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And
Which
I mean, I feel like that was a start of what we're seeing today.
absolutely, I
It's
absolutely
the
have
start of
to
what we're
agree
seeing
with that.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that kind of like opening the floodgates in that way, for everybody to kind of join a space that already existed and already had a reputation and already
Hmm.
had like an expectation. I definitely would have to agree that it it led us to some dark places because
Some dark places. Yeah.
the wildest of wild west. Um I would say for me, like the hustle to recreate the success of Facebook, because it literally like
Mm,
seemingly blew up out of nowhere. Like
out
it
of
was
nowhere.
like
Yeah.
only people in college had it, and then everybody had it, and like
Hmm.
literally everybody. And so that was, I think, seeing places try to kind of like recreate that success of developing online community. I definitely think it was a lot bigger, like in our home, in our hometown at the time, of like,
Mm,
kind of having people on your friends list that, like you have to have people that, like, as opposed to, friending random people. So then when Twitter comes along, which Twitter didn't come along per se, but when the success, like when the growth of Twitter kind of started, which was around similar timing
mm-hmm.
of Facebook kind of opening up to everyone. I think that they had something different from what Facebook had, because like at the time you were like on Facebook, that's where you friended everybody that you knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on Twitter, it was like you were gathering a community of people who you only knew online, that
Yeah.
you only knew from this particular space and from this particular relationship. So this was like back when they would do follow trains at a certain time, like, usually it was 10 p.m. and later.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to be following like the right accounts, and to kind of find out about that stuff, about how you would meet these people, how would you get more and more people to follow you, and like really having to put some work into building that online community.
Yeah.
But again, all of that stuff not even being, I mean, possibly not being the intentions of the creators, but just how people decided to come together and create and develop community out of nothing. Because again, on Twitter, you're not friending your mama, you're not friending your Aunt Pam. Like you are making connections with people who you have no clue who they are, potentially, and
Mm-hmm.
where they come from, right? So yeah, like, and Twitter was an interesting place back then. So like tweets were only 160 characters, like, and
140, not
oh,
even 160,
140. You
140.
you sure right. 140, 140 characters. And like in a retweet back then, you had
So,
to be the best at shorthand that you could ever
uh-huh.
be, because your retweet had to be an abbreviation of the original tweet and then whatever you wanted to say on the front end of it.
Gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was watching like an old episode of The Real, because they have everything on YouTube now. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, they were like showing like screenshots of like tweets, and I was like, this is maddening how far we have come in
Mm-hmm.
such a short period of time. So yeah, I mean, like, kind of the sprouting of that and the way that people built community online, Twitter, I feel like it was, it was something, it was something else. It was something else. Like, obviously Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it now, is still the juggernaut, but Twitter has like created something that has not, that no other site really still to this day can do in the same way that Twitter does it, especially, Black Twitter.
Yeah.
And also, to what you mentioned earlier, Twitter kind of being the space of like, social activism really being able to pick up,
Mm-hmm.
social and that also of international communities of places, getting those revelations of, of the plights of other people, around the world, and not really being able to mobilize around any other site except for Twitter.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like, I just have to have a big, that was one that kind of like came up in a very specific point in time, that was kind of like, that was something that for me like really caught my eye, and is, I think, is worldwide relevance
Yeah,
to the development of social media.
I agree. There was something that you said brought up YouTube in my mind as well, because one of the
Mm,
other things I was thinking about was like the seamless integration of videos and YouTube being a space. And I know we're saying it kind of sits, it straddles this interesting line, or it's more like content media versus like social media,
yeah,
especially with how it first came on the scene.
yeah,
But folks on YouTube were also building communities around shared interests, around shared experiences, um, and a lot of education was coming out of YouTube. And with the seamless integration, or getting it to the point where it's seamless integration of videos on some of these other sites, I think that also supported YouTube and being able to strengthen, or YouTube strengthening what it had, allowed for these other sites to really start to think about how the incorporation of videos and seamless integration of those things could really come to life. Because at one point in
Yeah.
time, like Facebook and Twitter media on those things, fuzzy as
Yeah.
all get out, or
Yeah.
not even really allowed to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like when we were able to really start sharing videos on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, mind's blown. Same thing with like YouTube and not YouTube, with Twitter, and it getting to a place where that can actually be a part of your thread or your story. Um,
Right.
Instead of you having to use your words to paint pictures. But that's also tying back into like this being turned into like a site for news and social justice, because you're able to see things in real time as people are recording it from their now very much enhanced cell phones, that are able to capture these things with more clarity. And that integration, or the upload speeds of those things, and these sites now working together to ensure that these things can happen. I think that's also something that has really helped us pivot as far as how we are sharing with each other. um and what I will say is, like, to our detriment, um and I think Twitter, and I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I think Twitter is trying to, or they were at one point trying to be a little bit better about this, as far as like, I know Instagram does this, but like blurring videos and asking, if you want to see the video first.
Right. Depending on content.
Cause
Yeah.
right. Giving content warnings and age limits on things like that. So that you're not just scrolling through and then seeing someone murdered on your timeline.
Right.
Because for several years that's what it was.
Right.
And I'm not sure what took them so long to think of the solution that we have now. Um, but I'm glad that's at least one thing that has come out of these platforms working together. I mean, what it seems like they're working together to do, or at least communicating with each other. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Um it's been such a crazy time to see like the how again just how fast the evolution of all of
Mm-hmm.
these sites, of all of these, like online communities have just kind of existed, and again just so fast, because like it feels like, it don't feel like yesterday. It definitely feel like it was a long time ago. But it doesn't feel like we are that far removed from the start of these things, right? Like from the start of these organizations, and they have moved so quickly and
So
made such
quickly.
big steps. And
And big impacts to the
right,
world.
right, absolutely. Like, I mean, and everything kind of feeds off of one another, right? Because even think 10 years ago, right now, like cameras on phones were horrible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could have been getting the little Kodak wind up camera down from, the grocery
And that
station.
would have had better clarity than what we had on our phones.
Absolutely. But now, like,
Mm.
people use their phones like with like
To shoot
movie camera
movies.
quality. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's so crazy, but that is influenced by the rise of social media. People have
Mm-hmm.
desire to want more, better, faster, bigger, which very, very much
Yeah.
is its own issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of blind consumerism, which a lot of people probably would argue has been fueled by social media and its rapid growth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
One of the other things, like as we're talking about the evolution and rapid growth, another thing that just kind of came to mind for me is, we're talking about our own personal experiences and like the platforms we've used, but there are so many other platforms that have come and gone so quickly in
oh
the
yeah,
time from social media starting to where we are now. And those things existing in the time that they did have given way to some of the other big things that we know now and possibly even take for granted. Um, like when Instagram first started doing videos, very short.
mm-hmm.
Also, Instagram has been jocking off of all these other platforms for the
Oh,
longest time.
absolutely, absolutely.
But it made me think of Vine.
Yep.
I was never on Vine, but
Yeah.
that short form video content has led way for a lot of content creators that we see and know and love today to have
Absolutely.
their own platforms. Like that's how people that was the launch pad for certain people, and the creativity that it took for folks to, what was it, 15, 30 seconds, something like that, to get to
6.
paint a picture. 6.
Yeah,
That seems wild.
Vine started out with 6 seconds.
What you gonna do with 6 seconds?
They did a lot.
It's weird.
They did a
That's
lot.
weird. But yeah, so starting out with 6 seconds, um, and Instagram was like, oh, we can give you 15, and like
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth like that. And so now we have Reels, which is stolen from Snapchat,
TikTok.
and just TikTok. Sorry, yes. Oh yeah, because the stories, you're right. The
Stories was stolen
stories
from
from
Snapchat.
Instagram stolen from Snapchat. Yes,
Yep.
you are correct. But
Yep.
yeah, it's like because other platforms existed because they were trying to address a very specific need, or at least attempting to test out different ways that other people can get their content out there. People now have platforms because of this, but then other improvements have occurred. I'll use the word improvements lightly. Other improvements have occurred on some of the platforms that are continuing to stick around.
Yeah.
When it comes to Instagram, one thing I will say is nobody's asking. I don't even know what it's called, but the little status update things that you can click
Yeah.
um on people's
Why?
faces. I didn't ask for that.
I didn't ask
Who
for that.
who said we needed this?
It's
What I
completely
asked you to
unnecessary.
do is return my algorithm to me so that I can actually see people that I know.
Yes, just let me see all the
That's what I
people that I
asked you to do.
follow and let
That's
them
what I
see
asked you to
me.
do. And
That would
let
be
them see
great.
me, you know?
Yeah,
But
because
every
you have
time you turn
800
around,
followers and you can only get 100 likes if you post something real good and juicy.
wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. And I was
Yeah.
just complaining about this a couple days ago, like on my dance page. I had done this amazing job of curating all of these um, larger bodies, black and brown bodies, all these, dancers that don't fit into this straight white mold
Hmm.
that I constantly see. I had done a great job of finding these folks, making community with them, and used to see them all up and down my timeline and my explore page. And then all of a sudden, where are my people? And I was
Mm.
just complaining about that the other day. Like, where are my people? I can't see what certain things would look like, or how I might be able to make modifications, because everybody that, like, all of the pages that I've curated, it's just in the ether,
Hmm.
but they're not showing up on my feeds. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So I
Yeah.
think that would be another part of the evolution, to like to also make sure we lift up, you know, in general, we have these platforms, we're able to connect, we're able to share ideas, exchange information. That's great. And at the same time, these platforms are also, how they've built these algorithms, how they've built these things.
Hmm.
Sometimes it makes me feel like I still have to, the, the reason that I got on the platform is just so I could see outside of myself, and now I'm still having to fight to do that when it's supposed to be adjusting to me actually, but it's not, because of how things are programmed. um and so that's another part of the evolution, to, like I said, just kind of lift up, like, the algorithm business, and everything that comes with, what they've done to manipulate that so that they can get different ads in front of us, get influencers in front of us,
Yeah.
is also something that we're having to contend with, and really have conversation about. And I don't want to say it's a dark time in our history as far as social media is concerned, but it's definitely frustrating.
Yeah.
Definitely frustrating, because
I,
you're putting in front of me what you want me to see versus what it should be.
hmm. Yeah. I, mm, I would say it's a dark time.
Mm.
I would say it's a dark time, because it's a little bit nefarious in the way that, like they are, hoping to, to feed you certain things, for
Mm-hmm.
some people, but then for others they're like, mm-mm, you don't need any more of that. Here's what we would like
Yeah.
for you to watch. And I find myself kind of like annoyed with that in the very same way that you are. I was like, like I've done a really good job of trying to cultivate the type of stuff that I want to see, and you are not giving me that. You are not
Mm-hmm.
giving me that at all. And I'm confused about this, but I guess I will take the 3 videos that you recommended that are, relevant, but why these other 7? So yeah, but like I said, I would also say that it's a darkish time, because also of the probably unintended changes to our society and social structure that have come with
Mm,
the way that we consume media, social media specifically, and the way that we interact as well.
mm-hmm.
um I don't want to get too deep into this conversation so that we can actually
Yeah.
have a part 2.
Yeah.
Um, so are you cool with capping here?
I'm definitely cool with capping here.
Okay, cool.
And as the children would say, and that's a no cap statement.
Oh, I was thinking that I had already failed by saying capping here because I'm like, oh man, I've messed up the slang.
No.
But
No.
all right. So children, don't turn it off just yet. We still have good stuff to come. Okay. Oh, let
Good
me.
stuff. So yeah, we're gonna end here. And we will see y'all back for part 2, where we get into, like I said, the critical analysis and some of the unlearnings that we typically engage with when it comes to our Family Feud segment. But as it specifically relates to social media. So thank you for listening to part 1. If you have anything that you would love to add to the conversation, hit us up in the inbox. That's goodblackpodcast@gmail.com. And we would love to hear your takes and also just hear your points of nostalgia about all the different platforms and ways that you've engaged with social media. Were you like me and like a rebel without a cause doing things on the internet? Or were you like Gant and praying it up on live?
I can't. That's
Let us
not what I
know.
was doing.
Let us know. And we
Oh
will
my
be right
gosh.
back. Hey, fam, and welcome to our love letter segment of this episode, where we say if love is accountability, then here's where we show our love by discussing matters that we need to address and grow from. Because we truly believe that what doesn't get addressed gets amplified. That's not supposed to be a tongue twister, but it was. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go again. Hey, fam, welcome back. Nope,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm, find it. Hey, fam, welcome back. And we're going to get into our love letter segment of this week's episode. So, as you know, we say if love is accountability, then this is a segment where we show our love by discussing matters that need to be addressed and that we can then grow from. Because we believe that what doesn't get addressed gets amplified. So, this is where we've landed after the feud, and this is how we're going to move forward and do better. So, Gant, if you'd like to go first with your love letter, would love to hear what you got for us.
Oh yeah, man. My love letter this week is just to us, the users, the people who engage with social media in any way. I will say this is recorded very shortly after the most recent State of the Union with
Mm.
with who is currently
Joe
President
Byron.
Joe Biden. What do you want to say to Joe Biden right now? Um, and I just have to say that I was completely disgusted and flabbergasted with the behavior of the people in that room. And that is not the first, second, third, or fourth time that I have felt that way. I
Mm-mm.
am completely appalled with the way that people have chosen to behave. And it's not even about the authority of the president because I could not care less about that, right? It is simply the lack of decorum and the lack of respect that people communicate with people who don't agree with them with.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, that is something that has grown out of the way that we interact with one another and we use Facebook. I
Yes.
cannot stress, or not Facebook, sorry, social media. I
But
cannot.
also Facebook
I mean,
specifically.
yeah, yeah, definitely Facebook specifically, um, as a culprit in that.
Hmm.
But I cannot say enough how it is so important that we do not lose our humanity while we are trying, air quotes, very big, heavy air quotes, while we are trying to connect with one another. Because the way that we have watched a deterioration in like couth and a
Yeah.
deterioration in like, in civility, over these last like 10 to 12, 10, 12, 13, 14, I don't know, however long, however many years, has been disheartening as a person. And it's just like, it's y'all, like, we have become, especially in America, we have become such ugly people, like,
Mm.
inside out. Like,
Yeah.
y'all been fat and ugly in America. But I kid. Um, but I mean, the way that we just interact with each other, especially when we don't agree, is so
Hmm.
ugly. So my love letter is to, is while we, especially for those of us who became adults while using these platforms, right? Is that we really, really think about the kind of people that we want to be, and also find peace in your real life. Find peace in and of yourself, and the ability to to actually live a life that doesn't have to be shellacked and sheened by by your ring lights and your amount of likes. And then also that we be kind, because it doesn't cost you anything to be kind to one another, to
Hmm.
be to be patient with one another. We are all just trying to figure this stuff out, and a great place to start would be, disagreeing with some civility when it comes to the internet and to social media. I promise you, I assure you, if you are nice to somebody, or if you don't respond to
Because
somebody,
that's an option. That is
that
always an option.
always an option. So, like, just not responding sometimes is also, is okay for you to do, when it comes to social media. Because, again, I just can't say enough, like, the man, the way that we are just so intentionally nasty and degrading to each other, like, is just like, I wouldn't say heartbreaking, because I don't like people anyway, but it is definitely it's definitely hard to watch, because it feels like we are just like consistently, like, just deteriorating in the quality of who we are and in our humanity. And so, yeah, I mean, my love letters this week, like, learn to be better, do better by yourself, by giving yourself a break sometimes, and be kind to yourself. So hopefully you can in turn be kind to other people, because it really don't take all of that. It's more often than not even worth the energy and the vitriol that we are giving it. So, give yourself a break, give other people a break. Life is hard. Life is hard for everybody who's doing it. So, be kind. It doesn't cost anything. I assure you, you won't drop dead, um, by being nice to somebody, or just at the very least being quiet. So, sorry. That means that, that's my love letter. I hope it goes somewhere, and I hope people, receive it. I hope it lands somewhere with a, with a soft on somebody with a soft heart today. Um so yeah. What about you? What's your love letter for this week, Jake?
I think mine is going to be short and sweet. Excuse me. This is to people with platforms and large followings. So I feel like I've talked to this specific group of people already, but I'm gonna say it again, or I'm gonna say something different. So to these folks, whether you like it or not, whether you intended for this to be the case or not, people look to you as an authority of sorts in their lives for whatever reason. I need you to remember that. and own that, and then use that truth to do good. Really think about the power that that holds and how you might be able to leverage that truth for doing good, for supporting the critical education of the masses, especially as it pertains to things like helping people's understanding around like how they can critically think or analyze media and content that's placed in front of them. There's a lot of content uh, flying out at them. So what are you doing to support them in better understanding what is a reputable source, what, how they can critically look at or analyze something that's in front of them, even if it's coming from you?
Absolutely.
And how are you also using the fact that that's the lens that you want them to have to build your content? Yes, it's easy to just turn on a camera or a microphone and start talking, but what intention are you giving to the things that you're saying or how you're framing things? Yeah. Knowing that critical thinking is under attack in this country, knowing that accurate history is under attack in this country, knowing that a lot of folks actually aren't as I want to say media savvy, but there's a specific word for it. Media literate might be what I'm going for. Yeah. Knowing all these things to be true, how are you adjusting? How you're approaching your education, your platform of the masses to support them in fully understanding, versus you coming on saying and doing whatever with very little intention, with very little critical personal analysis of your own. And because of how you're saying things, how you're framing things are then misconstrued. Misinformation, disinformation is running rampant. Yep. And it's because you didn't take that extra step. You didn't think about the platform and the power that you had and the large following and the fact that folks think of you as an authority, yep, like I said, for whatever reason in their lives. Words mean things. Your words specifically mean things to certain people. I need you to remember that and own that. Yeah. And one of the big things, like I said, is media literacy, critical thinking, the accurate teaching of historical facts. Those things are all under attack / were never taught to begin with. And you know these things. So how are you adjusting your approach to support when you know that's the truth that we're swimming in right now? And that's my time.
Well, we're going to go ahead and pass the collection plate while we recover from that word, because you people, let me tell y'all something. We're gonna have to do an episode about influence, period, because it is like, when I tell you, like, y'all are loud, wrong, self-righteous, entitled, and ignorant, and you put it on display for people to gobble it up, knowing that you have a following. Like, let me stop, because I'm about to say something. Because that is something
we still got a part two.
Yeah,
we still got a part two. Yeah,
man, because that's something that really bothers me. So part two, and that's it for the love letters this week, because the love is getting sharp around these parts.
I want you to grow and do better, and we can do it together.
Yeah, Jade calling y'all in. I'm calling y'all out. All right, so that's it for love letters this week, and we are on our way to our last segment for this episode. All right, fam. So we are going to close out this week's episode with Favorite Cousin. So if you do not know what the Favorite Cousin is, I'm about to tell you. Every episode, we are each going to pick something or someone to give flowers to because they made us happy, they made us think, they made us act and do something, or simply because it is Black excellence. So, Jade, we are going to start with you. What is your favorite cousin this week? What or who?
So my favorite cousin for this week, it's the Don't Call Me White Girl podcast. I don't know if you've listened to an episode or heard of it
I
yet,
haven't.
or heard. It's delightfully ratchet.
Oh, we like that.
And so it's by the lead host is Damona, and so I don't know if you saw the video. Like, why you being weird to me? It's that lady.
Yeah, weird to me.
Why you
Okay.
being weird to me? It's that lady,
Okay.
right? So when I say this is delightfully ratchet, that's the energy that we coming with. And I will say, when I first started to listen to episodes, like, I think I encountered it because of social media, the clips of the podcast, because they also have video clips. I think they are being produced by Breakbeat. So Breakbeat will release clips, visual clips of, them talking or having conversation. And I was like, who is this? What is this podcast? Let me take a listen. I guess I can call myself an avid podcast listener. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have things that are in rotation. Sometimes things get pulled because I'm like, you know what, that season of my life is behind me, and that's fine. And so this has been added into the rotation. But I will say, when I first started to listen to the episodes, I was like, this is a train wreck. And I don't know what to do with this. But I gave it a chance, and she's definitely a comedian, and she's a storyteller. And I enjoy how some of the stuff is real wild, but I enjoy how she tells stories. I enjoy her form of humor. It's like I can't believe you just said that, but also this is hilarious. And I'm also kind of taken aback by it. Like, I enjoy that if it's coming from the right person.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind with what you just said. I cannot believe you said that, but it's hilarious. So that's the type of framing as far as the humor goes. Like, but to get down to the nitty gritty and to really hear what she's saying and what she's sharing, she's talking about her journey. She's talking about what she's thankful for. She's talking about the struggles of being Black in America. And the language she uses is very colorful.
Okay.
Sometimes she has guests, and the interactions with specific guests, I also enjoy that. And she does some of her own unlearning or expanding of her mind. And she has two other co-hosts that it's like Phelps and someone else. I can't remember the other person's name, but two other co-hosts that she engages with. And then, like I said, sometimes she'll bring on guests, but you get to hear in real time how she's expanding her own thinking around certain things or just learning more. There was an episode that she did with T.S. Madison. And I will say that because I listened to the earlier episodes, and like I said, the language she uses is very colorful, and she is a hood puppy. I love it so much. She is from Philly. It's, and so I was worried about what that episode would contain. But I was like, T.S. Madison can take care of herself. I'm sure if things get out of pocket, there's going to be a conversation.
Right.
But it wasn't. It was like, Damona is genuinely curious, genuinely trying to do better, trying to learn more, willing to listen, willing to, more than willing to engage, and is an ally. And so with that, never judge a book by its cover. I've learned a lot of colorful euphemisms in my time listening to this podcast, but also, once again, taking it back to like one of the reasons I still use social media, getting a chance to hear about someone else and their experience and how they process and reflect on the world. And even though she's using different language, the heart of what she's saying is sometimes aligning with how I'm seeing things or how I'm experiencing things or how I might even react. And yeah, it's fun. Like I said, it's delightfully ratchet, and that is my favorite cousin for this week. I hope that her star continues to shine very bright. I can't wait to see what else she does. And yeah, it's been some interesting listening, but very good. Very good. So that's my favorite cousin for this week.
N-
What about you?
Nice. My favorite cousin this week is like, it really is lingering from last week because it has just lasted into into this week. So R&B is my favorite cousin this week. Again, I know we talked about it, but I just cannot say how much I love and appreciate the genre of R&B. There is so much great R&B still being made, both the
Mm-hmm.
nostalgic and the new stuff, right? Like, we need all of those parts of it, which we're also like fresh off the Grammys too. So
Yeah.
like the whole like Chris Brown and Robert Glasper fiasco, which I'm very embarrassed to share a birth year with that young man sometimes because he's mm, he's on the sick and shut in list. But Robert Glasper, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you are out of your mind to
Mm-hmm.
try to downplay the contribution that this man makes to, like, specifically to R&B
Specifically
music.
R&B. Yep.
Like, so, he gave a half-hearted apology, whatever that, like, that is what it is. But like
He said
R&B, he
words.
said words. He
Apology? I
wrote
don't
he
know. He
wrote
said
it definitely
words.
was not an apology. He wrote
Yeah.
words and said things. But
Mm-hmm.
that aside, R&B, it's just it's chef's kiss. Like, you just can't compile better, more stirring, more moving music. Maybe gospel, definitely gospel, but you know what I mean. And R&B, like, it's just such great music, such deep music, such feeling music, and we still need it. We still need people to talk about matters of the heart and matters of the feelings, and
Mm-hmm.
even now with the newer folks who are also using their R&B to talk about their feelings and their mental health and how you dealing with friends and and all of that stuff. So again, I just have all the peoples, shout out to obviously Brandy, who was my favorite singer of all time. That's just that's my girl. But shout out to the Brandies, and to the Kiana Ladays, and to the Lucky Days, and
Oh, lucky.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
we ain't gonna talk about Lucky's personal life. We're gonna leave that on the back wherever it goes. But but yeah, man, shout out to the people still making R&B music. Shout out to the people who love R&B music, and and share it, boost it, talk to people about it, find new versions of it. It's so much, great music that is out here now. And also pick up the old stuff too. It's still good. It still
Mm-hmm.
slaps the way it did, back then. And it might mean something different to you today than it did 10 years ago. So,
That's true.
you know,
That's true.
yeah, man, love R&B. Just got to be my favorite cousin again for this week. We need it. And, salute to the people who love R&B and the people who make great R&B.
Wonderful. Have you listened to the R&B Money podcast by Tank and Jay
I
Valentine?
have. I listened to it this morning while I was at the gym. I was listening to the
Wonderful.
episode with Coco Jones. Um, and I need to
Again,
double.
love Coco.
Oh, love
Huge
Coco
fan.
Jones. Love Coco Jones. She's hilarious. You know what? I thought to myself, and then somebody like said it in the comments. I was like, Coco Jones and Keke Palmer, put
Mm-hmm.
them on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because always a moment, like everything they say, like is a moment, and it's almost guaranteed to be like a viral thing that people can repeat. But yeah, love Coco Jones. Her episode. I did not finish the episode, but I started listening to it. I will say R&B Money Podcast, y'all just take some of them ads out because y'all be killing me.
Killing me with the ads.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Like, it'd be like
But also get your money, Black
I mean,
Kings.
yes, get your money, and this just be like 3-4 minutes of like straight ads, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, and I click next on all that.
yeah. But anyway, but also shout out to them for doing that podcast, because, like, again, like, we need to just be able to have a space where our stuff gets appreciated and where it gets elevated, like, so.
Yeah, and they're talking about like the older folks and
Right, and I
current
love.
cats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Um, Yeah, and I love that they are in that space and elevating all of the all of the people. So hopefully they get Robert Glasper on the show after
Mm-hmm.
this whole
That would be dope.
after
That
this
would be dope.
madness. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, shout out to R&B, shout out to people that love it, shout out people to platform it. So
Wonderful.
that's it. That's my favorite cousin.
All
So
right. Well,
yeah,
that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Good Black Podcast, fam. We hope this episode has helped you to process your own thoughts about your values around social media, how you're living and experiencing it. And if this episode helped you, do us a favor and follow us on all the social media platforms at the Good Black Pod. Subscribe wherever you can find the show or wherever you listen to podcasts, and definitely tell a friend. So we'll be back with you right here with more conversations on adulting while Black, on social media while Black, on the Good Black Podcast. Until next time, fam. Bye.
see y'all. Pew, 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 pew.
Boo.